Hello, and welcome to the Viking Home Companion with another story from the good old days. And this is another story about my reputation as the patron saint of battle injuries. I started fighting in the SCA back in 1981 and lived in California, the West Kingdom, for many years. And I earned a reputation for getting injured while fighting. And rather than have one really long story about all the different ways that I've gotten hurt, I'm splitting up into specific incidents for you. Now, we figured at some point or another, being Norse, that I had acquired a weird, which is spelled W-Y-R-D. And it means doom or fate. Now, not every Norseman got a weird. While it's true that the Norns decided at the moment of birth how long someone was going to live, their thread, and then, cut it, and then that thread would be woven into the tapestry of life and creation, they didn't necessarily dictate what was going to happen in that Norseman's life. Right? Your deeds, your actions, whatever you did during your lifetime became part of your thread, and then again were woven into the great tapestry, but they didn't necessarily preordain what you were going to do during your life. That was up to you. Now, a weird, maybe about a quarter to a third of Norsemen might get a weird, usually means that a Norse deity, or more than one, has taken an interest in you in some way. Now, a weird can be good, it can be bad, it can be both. Just depends on what the person in charge of giving you that weird meant. Now, in my case, we figured it had both good and bad consequences, although the good are kind of more neutral to me than bad. But basically, my weird is this, that I can never be injured the same way twice while fighting. The caveat being, it cannot be a permanently crippling injury. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that they don't add up over time. So, it's reached the point now where it's went from reputation to legend and legend to myth. I'm now getting injured at events that I was never at. Okay? It got to the point where my name became a verb in the SCA for getting hurt, as in, you really pulled a Torvaldr. Yes. So this particular story involves a really good old friend of mine from the West Kingdom, and is one of the more famous incidents. There were a lot of witnesses to what happened here. So this takes place at a Sanagwin Coronet tournament. Now, I want to say that it was spring tournament, but it could have very well been fall. And it was a very wet tournament. Now, I don't remember who was Prince and Princess at the time. I'm certain that somebody who's watching this video will remember. My memories of it are pretty much centered on a couple of specific incidents that happened there. One which was actually very good and a lot of fun, and this isn't one of them. So this is the incident that adds to the mysteries of Saint Torvaldr. So, after I was done fighting in the tournament itself, I had already been eliminated at this point, had my 2 defeats, and I was out. And we were a little more than halfway through the tournament, and therefore a section of the field was opened up for challenge fights. But instead of your standard challenge fights, what they did is they had the Sanagwin Guard go out and hold the field. And anybody else could then go out and challenge a member of the Sanagwin Guard to battle. And so all of us who were challenging got in a big line, and essentially it was almost like a bear pit, for those that are familiar with that. You go out, you fight, and then you come back out. And then you get in line, and you go back down until you can go back out again. Now, my fight, when I went out there the first time, I don't remember who I fought the first time. It was a nice fight, I won, I went back to the line, and I came out, and as I came out the second time, my really good friend, Gilbert de Longspie, was out there with his greatsword. Now, you have to know from the West Kingdom, Gilbert and his greatsword are famous. very well known. There's actually a song about Gilbert and his great sword. I don't know it, so I won't sing it for you. But there is a song, right? So Gilbert's got his great sword. And if I'm fighting Gilbert with his great sword, I want my great axe. My great axe is my absolute favorite weapon in the SCA to fight with. So I get my great axe and I go out to fight Gilbert de Longspie. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be epic. So we square up, they call Leon, and we go at it. Nice exchange of blows, and then I get him in the leg. I just missed the hip, so I didn't kill him, but I got his leg. So down he drops to his knees. I back up a little bit, make sure he's settled okay, and then I come in. And I am planning for this really great undercut as I'm going by. And what I'm trying to do is make the undercut to the point where I can bring the haft of my weapon up in a sweep so that I can use it to block anything that he's attacking with. Now this is a pass-by shot. Now with somebody on the ground, I'm not allowed to run around them in a circle, corkscrew them, but I can throw a passing shot where I attack, pass by them out of range, and then come back around. And so that was what I was trying to do. I was going for a body shot. That's what I wanted to get. I wanted to get under the bottom of his grip on his great weapon and get him in the belly. So I come in, I make my sweeping cut. He manages to catch it right on the bottom of his grip. So I don't get the kill, but as I'm passing, he throws a backstroke really sharply. And the backstroke caught me up right on the base of the neck. Bam! Square. Hard. Right on my armor. I'm wearing my gorget. I've got a nice piece back there. But the shot hit me square on the off button. So I let out this squawk. I face plant into the turf. And I am out. I mean, completely unconscious, out cold. Now, Gilbert doesn't know that I'm actually hurt. He just thinks I let out this squawk and I go down like I did for the theater of it. Because we all like that theater. In the West Kingdom especially, there is an award given called the Battered Helm. And it is for the most glorious death scene on the field. All right. Now, it has to be witnessed by the current holder of the Battered Helm. It's a very interesting thing. With all of the injuries I have had all over the years, I have never managed to win the Battered Helm. There's people that think I have, but no, I have not. I did not win the Battered Helm at any point. So I go down. Boom. I am out cold. And I mean, we're not talking a momentary blackout dazed. I am out. So they have to call a hold. They call an ambulance. That's how long I was out. I did not wake up until the ambulance got there, and even then I wasn't completely awake. And they got me in the ambulance. They took me to the hospital. I was awake by the time we got to the hospital. And they couldn't find anything in particular wrong, but they decided they were going to keep me overnight for observation. Now, this actually worked out in my favor a bit, because the thing about Coronet was the weather was very overcast, it was very drizzly, and the rain cut loose almost the moment that I left. And everybody got soaked. And when I got back the next morning, I had one of these kind of elongated dome tents. It was only about maybe 3.5 feet tall, but it was wide inside to allow up to 3 or 4 people to sleep. And when I opened the zipper, my air mattress was floating in about 3 inches of water inside my tent. And so I got to sleep comfortable and dry and warm in the hospital overnight. And everybody else got soaked. So I guess you could say maybe I got a little bit of revenge. Now Gilbert, of course, felt horrible. We were good friends. We had known each other for many years. And the worst part of this, in a way, for me, is that it wasn't too long after this that Gilbert had to retire from fighting. Now, I had always made a point, whether I was injured in a fight or whether I accidentally injured someone else in a fight, that once whoever had gotten hurt was completely healed, that I would make an effort to go fight that person again. Because you don't want to have this stigma of the last time I fought so-and-so, I hurt them. Okay? Well, with Gilbert, we never got that fight before he had to retire from fighting. And it was a physical thing with his neck and spine that had sidelined him for several years. However, he finally recovered enough through physical therapy and modified his armor enough that his doctor finally gave him the okay to fight again. So, at a St. Torvald's Day tournament, my last couple of years living in the West Kingdom, the barony that I lived in had always held a Barons Championship tourney in April to choose the baronial champion, which is done through tournament fighting. And I had been baronial champion 3 times. And so, the 2 years before I left, they decided to surprise me and held the championship as St. Torvald's Day, because not only was I the champion and was holding the tournament, my birthday is also in April. And actually my birthday landed like just a day or 2 before after we were going to hold this tournament. So they decided to make it a surprise birthday party for me as well, called St. Torvald's Day. And we had an absolute blast. Well, as I'm getting up there, now I'm not planning to fight that day because I'm the current champion. I'm choosing the new champion, so I'm not fighting in the tournament. But all of a sudden, here comes Gilbert de Longspie. And he says, Torvald, I can fight again, and I want to fight you. And I'm like, oh man, I don't even have my armor here. So I turn over things to someone else, and I drive home, I grab my armor, I get armored up, I drive back, and he's standing there in his armor with the great sword. The same sword that knocked me flat out. Unfortunately, at that point, I don't have my axe anymore. It had long since died through SCA combat. So instead, I fight him with my cutting spear, which is essentially the same length as my great axe. So we square up and we go at it, and he caught me completely flat-footed. He faked me right out of my boots, caught me with hook, line, and sinker all the way down the throat and just blasted me. And I took the shot, I went over, I hit the ground, and I burst out laughing because he had caught me so flat-footed and off guard. I got up, we had a couple more bouts after that, and had an absolute blast. So Gilbert and I got to have that reassurance fight, finally. And again, I'm really, really happy that this happened, especially as I say, I moved out of the West Kingdom about a year after that, and moved to the Mid-Realm, and I am now currently in Ethelmark, where I have been for getting over 10 years now. So that is another story of the mysteries of St. Torvald, and there will be more to come. Yeah, sure, you betcha.